Are you a teacher stuck in the throes of distance learning, trying to emotionally engage your students? You're in the right place. My name is Noelle Hoffmeister. I've been a teacher for over 20 years, and I too am stuck in distance learning. Let me give you 5 quick, easy ideas to rein them in. Tip number 1 is the easiest one, but the one that we sometimes forget, and that is to acknowledge the emotion. And what I mean by that is brains love to be understood. They love to know that the person that we're listening to understands us. And when we feel understood, we're more likely to engage. And so instead of fighting the fact that your students are having trouble listening and focusing right now, just to say, everybody stop. This is hard. You are having a hard time, and I am having a hard time because this is a hard time. And I don't like teaching like this, and you probably don't like learning like this, but we have this job that we need to do for your future and your good. We have tasks we need to complete. So I know that this is hard. Please know that it's difficult for me, and we're going to dig in and do our best. By doing this, you are acknowledging the emotion, which is going to reduce the anxiety in your learner. So number 1, acknowledge the emotion. Tip number 2 is to tap into the emotion. So it doesn't do us any good to just ignore the emotions of our learners. Everybody is emotional right now because everyone's stressed and we're in an emotional situation. So instead of avoiding that emotion, we're going to try to put forth skills and content that relate to something emotional. Read something that has to do with emotions. For history and ELA, this is pretty easy because we can tap into how characters are feeling. We can tap into sad situations in the world. We can tap into history and how people in the events felt. In science and math, this is a little tricky, but you can force the emotion because the brain remembers things that are emotional. So by showing the square in geometry, by taking a minute to say, how does that square look like it feels? I know that sounds cheesy, but it will make the brain engage. And if the brain's engaged, you got a better chance of keeping their attention and having them learn. Number 3 is use current events. Current events are great to use in our classrooms at any time, but when we're home during a health crisis, having kids connect what's happening to them internally with what's happening on the outside is a great way to get them connected. See, often what we're teaching doesn't seem relevant to a child's brain. And their brain is going, why are we learning about this when we're home during a health crisis? If we take time and we read about that health crisis, we study that sickness, we look at the math of what's going on. However we can connect what we are supposed to be teaching to what's going on in the world, that will engage the brain. And again, we got a better chance of having them listen and learn. Number 4. Give choices. So brains love choices. It forces buy-in, and not only that, your brain will have to make a decision because it'll have a preference, even if both of the assignments are not appealing to the student. So the younger the student, the less choices, but as they get older, you can give some pretty good choices. Do they have to write a paper, or can they do a slide? Can they do it in partners, or do they have to do it individually? You have to look at your standards and determine what has to be done and what doesn't, but giving choice is just another way to engage your learners. Tip 5 is an old trick that we use in the classroom anyway, but sometimes when we start distance learning, we forget our old trick. So here's a reminder, and it is use props and visuals. If you're teaching something complex, and kids need to visualize it, something abstract, it is always best to give a visual. Now, if it's a concept that there's not a visual for, all the better. Hook it to something. Hook it to anything. This is a great visualization for a paragraph. We have a main idea, we have details, we have transitions. Anything that you can use to show how your ideas are related and connected, hold it up. It will engage your learners. Hey, if this video was helpful to you, please consider liking and subscribing right here. Please tell your friends and share about us. We're all about emotions and academics integrated together. Take care of yourself so you can get up and teach. I said 5, but here's an extra credit one. Laugh. Laugh with your students. Laugh often. Show funny videos. Tell funny stories. Be funny. Laughter is the best thing that we can do when we're stressed. It will engage your students and it will reduce their anxiety and it will reduce yours.